Good day and welcome. Matthew here again. Manufacturers Cup, Lago Maggiore East in the Group 4 Ferrari, as you can see, and that was kind of a weird sentence. Anyway, starting 5th. This was the second race of the night. First race of the night, I qualified 12th. Had a really poor qualifying run. And I knew the car had a lot more in it. And starting 5th, I was a 10th off second place. Like, within a 10th of a second, there was 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th myself. And even Conzio in 6th, just behind in the Hyundai, was not that much further off. But I had a bit of a battle with him in the first race, so I was glad to be starting ahead of him. This one, I had the pace over him, I certainly felt. And I certainly felt I had the pace for a second. That was a really bizarre move, but I see now from this replay angle, I just had the left rear tyre too far over the curb and it spat me sideways. So that put Conzio on the back of me, so I had to watch him going into the final hairpin. But I wasn't overly concerned. I thought I could outbrake him and comfortably stay ahead, which I do, as you can see. But anyway, I thought I had the pace to compete with B-Spec Bob, who's in the Honda in 2nd place, followed by Huzo in the Subaru and Dino's in the BMW. So I felt I could. I knew it was difficult to overtake around here, but I felt I had the pace to do so. And so that was what I was concentrating. That was my goal going in. I started 5th in a good position to pick up a podium. I felt with the pace I had under the car, and that was where I was, where my mind was, I guess, going in. And so when I saw this battle early on with these three, like B-Spec obviously defending against Huzo trying to draft aggressively because his car isn't very fast in a straight line, I was like, this is great. These three are battling really hard. I'll be able to pick them off one by one, get a good run, get past them or outbrake them into the braking zone. Or so I thought. So this is where I guess my race starts to fall apart. So those two go side by side. I try to light up a good run. I'm kind of blinded by the big old BMW in front of me, and I get on the grass a bit through the right hander and I understeer through the left. So Conzio goes and overtakes me, which is fine. He saw an opportunity, did a good job overtaking me. And then Pure Axel, I can only imagine, completely missed his braking zone because he missed it by a long way, and he ends up tapping the back of Conzio. Because he taps the back of him in the middle of the apex, I've got nowhere to go and I hit the back of Pure Axel. So not only do I lose a position to Conzio, I then lost a position to Axel with his mistake, which kind of turned out okay for him. So a little bit frustrated. It's just creeping in a bit at this stage. Because I thought where I should be moving forward, a small mistake turned into dropping 2 places, and I already knew from the first race how difficult it was to overtake cars that were slower than me, and having quite heavy battles with them. So I was a little bit worried, so I thought I had to get really aggressive. Pure Axel is attacking Conzio. Conzio is slow in a straight line in the Hyundai compared to McLaren, and they go into this fast left, right, left, side by side, so I know they're going to be compromised. I just thinking, right, line this up, position the car well, and we'll get a good run. I do get a good run, and I've got good grip through the exit, so I'm able to undercut Conzio and go side by side. But unfortunately for me, I'm on the left-hand side for this attack, and all Conzio needs to do is brake in a straight line, pull it up on the apex, and I can't go anywhere. I try turning in. I do tap the back of Conzio. That pushes me a little bit wide. That was entirely on me. But of course, Ranger Oz is right there to pick up the pieces. So starting 5th and now back to 8th with, moves that I thought were beginning to move me forward in the pack have ended up costing me 2 or 3 places. So that leaves me everything to do to come back to at least pick up a 5th, a 4th, a 3rd. But I'm not sure I can do it at this stage. Heading into lap 5, now I'm looking for any opportunity I can to start to make my way back through the pack and pick up some pieces. You see Huzo up ahead has an error or a mistake and is starting to fall back in the Subaru. Now I see Ranger gets a really good run on Conzio, and we've got Pure Axle on the right and the other McLaren also in a good run. So I'm just looking at slotting my car in and picking up an apex and preventing their cars from pulling around. So I try to take this inside line and I do aggressively. I accelerate as hard as I can. The Ferrari is very stable on the exit. I'm around the outside of Ranger here. I get a good run through him, so I go to the right hand side. He pulls over to the left to take a normal line and goes very aggressive to try not to block me. I'm not even sure he saw me there, but to try to take the inside line and cut as much of that corner off as possible. I'm not sure if he saw, I don't believe he saw my move over to the right to try to overtake him into that hairpin. So we'll go back and we'll play that again from both his perspective and my perspective. So first of all, Ranger's perspective, you see me moving up the inside. Ranger goes a little bit wide on this apex, so I go aggressive on the inside to try to go around him. I think to go around the outside, but I don't. I pull in, get a better run, and I move over to the right, and Ranger just pulls across the right. I now see what he was doing. He was actually trying to go for an apex on the white concrete, but inside that corner, where I wasn't. I was going for an overtake, and I wasn't aiming for that part of the apex. I was actually aiming for the red and white rumble strip as my apex. So I think we just got our wires crossed. He was going aggressive in. He may have also thought that if I was also going for that apex, then I'd already be turning. In which case, because I wasn't aiming for that same apex that he was, I wasn't quite turning yet. So he ends up running into me. So a bit of a shame that he ended up picking up a penalty, because he did end up going wide at the end of that. So, a bit unfortunate with how that came out, and I never intend to have a contact in the middle of an overtake, or even at the start, or any part of an overtake. So, unfortunate how that happened. But at the time, I thought I'd legitimately made a move over to the right, and that was fair game. And he'd left the door wide open for me, so I did not feel compelled to give the place back. I thought my move was fair enough, so I claimed the place. But what do you guys think in the comments below? If you think that was A, rude of me, or B, that was fine. I don't think Ranger's anything to blame. He may have made a misjudgment with turning in like that, but that's not a big deal. But what do you guys think? I'd love to know your opinion on that one. But we'll move on, shall we? So just a lap later, I'm looking at getting past Conzio as soon as possible. I know he's a little bit slow out of here, and I have a bit of a speed advantage down this back straight into the hairpin, so that's where I'm planning on overtaking him. He does cut that corner, so he does pick up a penalty right here. So I didn't need to do this, but I really wanted to get on the back of Pure Axle as soon as possible to try to pick up another place by the end of the race. So I look down the inside, I brake just past the 100 meter board, and all I need to do, as Conzio did earlier, is claim the apex. The corner is that sharp and that tight that you really need to claim the apex and nail the throttle out of it. And when he left the door wide open, I was able to just ease the car up onto the apex. It prevents him from being able to turn in and get a good run. He bounced off the side of my door, no big deal, and I take the place back. So slowly moved up. Well, Huzo fell back with the penalty, so I gained a place from him. Obviously, you just saw the Ranger incident, and then my move on Conzio into the hairpin, which I think was the same move I did on him in the first race, in the same spot, probably in the same lap as well. How poetic. So anyway, now just having to chase down Pure Axle. I was 1.2 seconds behind as I passed Conzio. So now I just had to try to close the gap, and this lap I closed up 0.2 of a second. So that put me within draft range, and hopefully going to put me within striking distance on the last lap. So final lap now, as you can see, I got the gap down to about half a second. That's about as close as I got it. He does manage to hold me off. I was trying to move aggressively through the first sector to get in his draft to head down into that hairpin. He was generally better than me out of that bottom hairpin from the previous 2 laps I noticed. So I was aiming for a really good run through there. He does understeer through here, but at this stage I think he'd eked out another 10th, or he's about 6 tenths ahead. And the draft is not going to have that much of an effect. The McLaren is quite quick in a straight line. I do kind of throw it up, trying to distract him a little. It doesn't really work. Still hit the apex and pull out and finish in 5th position overall. So that was it for the race. Very mixed emotions. It was really difficult early on, losing those positions, and that's just luck of the draw sometimes. Like, you make a move, you think you make the right move, or you make a mistake, and then another car goes up the inside of you, and so you've got to give them racing room, because it's the only thing you can do. And then you get compromised because another car dives you or whatever. You know, it's very hard to take in the moment, like especially when you feel you've got a car under you that can do more and be moving up the field, and in fact you find yourself losing time and losing places. So, in the moment, I felt like so frustrated, so angry that not angry, I don't know if that's the right word, but like just so frustrated. I really wanted to vent in the moment. But I guess I held it together. I got my composure back, and I guess got aggressive and tried to take those positions back. And I almost got pure axle at the end. I was gunning for him, but not quite. Maybe another lap, maybe. But who knows? It's one thing to catch somebody, another thing to pass somebody. I guess one thing I do want to cover off is my theory on overtaking. Because I hate it when an overtake ends up in a clash, like 2 cars come together. I do not like it. I love clean, fair overtaking, and I haven't shown you. In the first race, I went side by side with Conzio through the first sector, through 4 or 5 corners, and it was brilliant racing. I should probably edit in here, maybe afterwards. But anyway, I hate it when cars come together in an overtake. And so my theory with overtaking and why I guess sometimes I'll leave it and sometimes it'll look like I've made an aggressive attempt at an overtake, is that I feel, you know, if it's not clear cut, if I'm behind somebody and I'm going to do it in the braking zone, my theory is that if I have the capability to pull my car up onto the apex without understeering off and missing the apex, or understeering and pushing the other car off their line or off the track, then I think that's fair. If they then turn into me, or if they cause the bump or the incident, then I don't feel that's my fault. I think that's a fair enough reason why. But as I've been, I guess, getting a bit more aggressive and using this theory, I've ended up with more clashes. But I guess it's also the game. There's no risk of life or pain or anything. So people will just throw their car in. They may not be as aware of cars around them, or may think they've got enough of a lead, and we don't necessarily have that, I guess, sense or experience that real life drivers do, because so many overtakes done in this game, not talking about these guys, just in general, can be from dives from a mile back and can be just pushing somebody out the way. So when it comes to racing room and racing side by side and racing fairly, you don't get to practice it a lot because it doesn't happen a lot, especially in daily races. League races you find it a bit more often. But yeah, just pondering some thoughts. Let me know what you think constitutes a clean overtake. Do you think I'm on the right track with that? I think it's fair. Like, I try to avoid big dives in the braking zone, but if I've got to run on somebody and I'm on their bumper, and if I can pull the car up and pull it up in the apex, I think that's fair game. If the other driver gives me racing room and then can go around the outside of me, that's fair game. Yeah, that's my thoughts. Anyway, I hope you did enjoy what you see. If you did, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, share with your friends and family. If you want to see these races live, we've got one more Manufacturers Cup to go for the year. Well, for the official season, for the World Tour season. I'm sure there'll be exhibitions all too soon. But top 16 on Saturday. Looking forward to that. But if you do want to watch these races live, come follow me on Twitch. The link is in the description below. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.